超商外，警方和民众看起来正在争执，警方抢走手机，甚至将人戴上手铐。有家事移工团体在脸书上发文指出，新北市三重区一名家庭看护移工到垃圾时站在路边跟朋友讲电话，却突然被员警吼骂，要求拿出居留证，更把他上铐带回警局。发现是误会一场后，又把他直接丢包在陌生地方。针对这起案件，三重警分局分局长亲上火线道歉，坦承员警执法疏失，并依刑法妨碍自由罪嫌移请新北地检署侦办。
I work in Taiwan for 9 years and 5 months. Last, I work in Taichung 8 years, 1 year and 5 months here in Taipei. When I work in 8 years in Taichung, I cannot go out because I have no rest day. And then when I changed my employer, then she gave me a freedom to go out, to go outside.
It's your first time here?
Why are you looking for something? Mali ang araw. Dito, Pilipino. Diyan po, Pilipino dito. Pilipino rin.
What you want to buy?
I sent to Philippines. Not now, but I buy need to. But I buy things I need to use. Kanmin.
Oh.
Ito kanmin. Gusto mo na siya. Kanmin. Ayan nga, iti. Usaw-sang. Go.
新路到了三重 Police Substation。三重派出所用心咯，三重派出所重庆路。
What do you want to share? With the two lawyers to express what we want to tell the society what's wrong about it. Because she is not the first migrant worker illegally arrested by the policeman, right? Why is she the only one in this case to court and even win the case? So that is why we write an announcement. But why the police need to do this? The police is bad. Not because the police is bad, but it's because police is encouraged by the law. That's the first one. We want to abolish the discriminatory policy. The second thing is that as a migrant worker, because of language barrier, because of social isolation, you are not really understand how to pursue your cases if you are under any illegal treatment. So this is two appeals that for the Yas case, for this case, we learned a lesson. It's not a bad police, but it's a bad system in Taiwan. Make migrant worker weak to seek for the justice. Right? 政策为什么要去鼓励警察这样子一个抓逃跑的事情？难道是因为逃跑移工是什么治安的隐忧吗？逃跑移工的成因有一部分可能来自于雇主不好的对待，最大一部分就是来自于不能自由转换雇主，它其实蛮不合人性的。所以移工他如果要追求一个比较好的工作品质、比较好的劳动条件，他可能就会选择逃跑的这个方式。我们不去思考如何去改善这个成因，而是用严加惩罚、逮捕的方式来面对这一群人。那当然就导致了说，好像我们认为这个抓逃跑是有合理性的，对。但我认为其实这是本末倒置的。
You know, August 16, when I throw a garbage, then the police catch me. You need to get my ID to represent that I'm legal. But that time, I cannot bring my ARC. He said, in your phone, they have picture or any identification that you are legal work in Taiwan. I said yes. She take my cell phone. He closed my cell phone. That's why I cannot find my ID. Then she handcuffed my right hand to the table of the front of 7-Eleven. Then he hold my shoulder to don't talk, don't move. I point my house. This is my house. Can you have a doorbell? Then call Ama. But the police, she said, 不要讲话，你不要动. They have another 2 police using car, and he take me to the police station. He cuffed my right foot in my hand. The right foot in the table of the police station. He cannot find my name to the computer. That's why she said you're illegal worker. Now he find my ID. Then he take out my handcuff and put. The police said we go outside, but he cannot say to me that you are go home and they have freedom to go home. He go inside the car and drive. That time he stopped the car. Then that place highway. He said you go outside the car. Then he give my cell phone. My cell phone is off, and I said I cannot go home because I'm a new worker in Taipei. I don't know what to go home. He said, "You go straight, then you go home." Then he leave me that place.
Ilang punta ako dito.
第一，我认为警察不应该用入出国民法，它已经定好了。第二，警察职权行使法就不是拿来做这件事情。我觉得
所以你的意思是包括内政、包括警政署、包括移民署在内，都是要你们去做一个其实你们没有法律依据可以做的事情。你的意思这样吗？我有误解你的意思吗？
是我的意思，我认为就是如此。
警察职权行使法的6条1项是合理怀疑，后面的各款其实都是必须要有一定的事实，就是比如说你带着刀子啊，或是带着一些看起来一些违禁物品啊，整部警察职权行使法都是为了用来对付犯罪的法律。所以警察职权行使法打从一开始就不是设计来处理就业问题，失联移工是就业问题，它的母法是就业服务法，它的处罚是行政法，不是刑法，所以不是犯罪。所以原本这部法律是不能用来临检失联移工，它就会产生我们后面说的歧视性执法这个问题。就业服务法里面唯一有规定到说警察跟 跟那个失联移工可能有关系的是，它有一条是规定说警察执行查，但是它并没有对警察如何执行查做一个职权上的规范。但是它的职权行使其实是可以高度的限制到人民的自由。当我们没有去明确的规范警察可以如何去行使他的所谓的这个查，或是类似移民警察这样子的工作的时候，第一个是被临检的人外籍移工他的权益会受侵害，第二个是警察也会非常危险，他自身会非常危险。
查缉失联移工这个有一个很长的原名，我现在不太想念它，但是它简称为祥安专案。我要先讲祥安专案这件事情的根源是什么？会有祥安专案，它是认为失联移工这件事情是国家安全问题。为什么会觉得抓逃跑移工或失联移工是一个有效的政策？如果整个政策一直专注在抓跟遣返，那就会变成说我们忽略了它的背后的真正的原因是什么？那我们到底想要处理什么问题？警察有一点像急诊室，就是发生一件事情，然后进来，然后我就处理，但是不代表我做了即刻处理，不代表这件事情被处理完了。
I cannot walk my feet because I'm so scared. Then that time I said I don't want to go home. I stay here. But my Miss Grace and Mambona, she said you need to go home to say to your lawyer that what happened.
I'm working in Taiwan for 8 years now.
Hi, I'm Jen from Philippines. I'm working here in Taiwan for 8 years.
I've been working here in Taiwan for about 8 years now.
5 years here in Taiwan.
I have checked by the policeman twice.
I don't have any experience for random check from the police because I don't have any data. I had 3 experience checked by police.
Around those 4 months, I checked 2 times.
I never experienced this random check. Maybe because I've been always working in not so city-like place. I saw a police. I asked him, where I go to, where is the bus station going to Sprong Hospital? But he asked me, do you have ERC?
I witnessed they handcuff the TNT, the undocumented worker here in Chungli. Police woman hold her here like this, and then knee on the floor, and then the girl shouted. I think that is a Vietnamese, Indonesia.
There are some Indonesia there. The police was there, and then I was sitting. They just passed by in my front, and they didn't notice that I'm a Filipino. But they checked the 2 Indonesians, and then when they came, and then when they see me, they check on me.
I felt like, why should they check me? Do I look like, do I did something wrong? Because it's about 5 o'clock. I feel not good about it. That's how I experience.